All right, it's time to talk NASCAR on Prime Sports Network, Prime Sports NASCAR, as we recap the Bristol Dirt Race. We'll have a lot to talk about here in a short period of time with Eric Smith of RaceReviewOnline.net. And Eric, we didn't have a lot of hope for this race, and sure enough, as far as the fans are concerned and the drivers, and we'll get to that in a little while as well. Nothing surprised us. Nothing surprised the drivers. This is not a good race. This shouldn't be at Bristol. Uh, and and then you had the end of the race, which would be exciting if it was in a different circumstance, I think. But in this circumstance, it just seemed silly.
It did. The whole thing just seemed awkward, and I'm just watching it at home. A cup car just it doesn't look right on dirt, and these guys keep saying that. It's like I want to put stock in the guys driving these things that these aren't made for dirt, and you see local dirt tracks across this nation of ours with cars that were built for dirt that just looks aesthetically more pleasing. It just looks right. Cup car on dirt just did not look right, and the whole night I'd say it maybe exceeded my expectations. I mean, it raced all right. The driver said I think they got off to a bad start with the mud, and then the rain actually helped a few breaks. But a lot of changes still need made to make this work. However, the finish we saw and the TV rating now shows. Unfortunately, I don't think this race is going anywhere. I think you just kind of just cemented Bristol dirt on Easter night for years to come based off this. And I, unless people don't show up or stop watching, they're not going to change. And I think that this now proves it. They're going to use this highlight video reel, I bet, of Reddick and Briscoe wrecking and Busch winning, and they're going to show them putting the sword in the dirt, and they're going to say with 4 million fans watching at home on Easter night, up 26% over last year, and the best number since 2016 for Bristol Spring Race, that hey guys, look, this worked. So
Well, actually,
unfortunately,
I
I
will
think this
say
is
this
here to
though.
stay.
I'll say this, and I know how ratings go. I'm not gonna cement this until next year because this is the
Yep.
first year.
Yep.
Okay, which means you got a lot of people tuning into something that they've never seen before. We saw this in
Correct.
the
And
that crazy XFL or whatever that league was.
yep.
Everybody tuned in the first time because hey, what is this? And then the ratings just whoop. Once they realized what it was, they didn't come back. And this was a 5-6 hour affair with rain stops, and the race didn't even end until what, past midnight?
Close. It was after 11. Yeah, it was about 11,
So on a
11:30.
Sunday night, I mean, so we'll see. So let's and I get what you're saying, and knowing NASCAR, they'll bring it back. They don't care about the drivers, they don't even care about the fans, apparently. They just care about the ratings. And I'd be interested to find out if they went into those ratings and they asked questions like, have you ever watched NASCAR before? To find out how
Yeah,
many of those people were first time, ooh, what's this? And maybe that they think that's good. I don't, because again, I just don't think they're going to be back, but we'll see. Who knows?
I think it shows too. It seems like NASCAR has been around, we'll say the 3 million or a little bit higher mark of viewership on Fox this season. And for four, Mike, you might have gained an extra million people watching. So you ask a fair point is how many of those are going to watch this week? How many of those
Yes.
stayed? That's the key. Do you gain fans this way? And if so, good. That's what you want to do. But it's not just this week. How many of them stay to next week? How many of those can you keep the attention? How many show up and watch next year? And as I think it was Denny Hamlin made a good point on this, the bad thing about racing this race on Easter night, because you are going to attract new fans, this is the only time all year you see this. So if they like what they see, you're not going to see it the rest of the year. Granted, I think Talladega's genius to come up next, because if you want action,
Yeah.
you actually will
Yeah.
see. But however, you're not going to see that much the rest of the year. We'll see how many stick around. I think it does definitely cement next year. This is going to be back on Easter night next year, and I wrote about that today. And I'll have a few tweaks. So I'm still going to make this, but I wanted to get it out that you almost had 4 million people watch Richmond on a Sunday the couple weeks before, you had 1.8 million watch the Saturday night Martinsville race. So it shows you primetime weekends typically don't work. Maybe Sunday night's a market. We've talked about that. Maybe you move the races more to Sunday night instead of Saturday night. Maybe that has a factor in this, but still, I think Easter night is now going to be a thing for NASCAR for at least next year, either year after, because we'll start seeing trends. And even if I'll admit I watched it, I wasn't covering it. I was taking the weekend off, but I watched it. But I think there's a lot of people that maybe weren't fans of it that still watched anyways that maybe contributed to that number.
Oh, absolutely. I got to believe. Absolutely. Because again, it's Easter, and what is this?
Yep.
So yeah,
I would be curious to see. Again, you'd have to move it'd be a completely separate track. What would Easter Day produce? You got 4 million at 9. I wonder what would produce during the day then. But you can't run a dirt race during the day because we saw that doesn't work. So you'd have to have a different race. So we'll see. I think NASCAR has proven now Easter is maybe an option for him. Does it have to be Bristol Dirt every year? No. But I think this number showed that I think Easter is going to be here next year too.
That is my biggest problem. Look, and as fans, we deal with bad tracks and bad racing. You know, we've had a couple of clunkers this year, and even though most of the races have been awesome, the biggest issue is where it's at and what it's taking away from us. We heard it from Kyle Larson this week. We'll hear it from Kevin Harvick in a little bit. So it's not just us. The drivers are saying the same thing. Why are you taking away one of the best tracks? This is almost everybody's favorite track, and you're taking one of them away. Don't take it away, and I'm okay with it. You want to do this and try to improve on it every year, I'll live with it. I can't stand the fact that to take away a Bristol race.
No, and I think too. Then I get Bristol. I mean, the fans. I think it was a shitty crowd. I get what they're saying. The crowd was. If you look at the aerial view, man, there is nobody there. That's why I want to see, and I get what Bristol. They're in a conundrum. What do we do? They work TV ratings. We still don't have the big crowd, but if we have 2 races, but I think if NASCAR would give them the, hey, we got your back. We're not ever going to take this spring date from you, even if you go back to concrete. I think they would go back to concrete because nobody's going there. To me, I think it'd be better if you go to one of these grassroots dirt tracks. They might only fit 20,000 fans, and that it looks better.
It does look better.
It doesn't look better 20,000 there than 60,000 in Bristol when it's half full. I think it looks better that, hey, I'd be willing to try that on Easter night. You might get more people to go to the race if it's a local dirt track. Hey, the Cup guys are coming. And maybe that's part of why I think dirt Cup cars don't look right on dirt is because it doesn't look right on dirt at Bristol. That track is not made for dirt, and maybe I want to see him at a Knoxville or an Eldora or somewhere that's made for dirt. Maybe it'll look better, but there's just something in me. It's like it just doesn't look right.
And also, and I don't watch a lot of dirt racing at all. I don't. It's not my thing. I don't have time for it. I have so many other things I got to do. It's just never been my thing. Not that I wouldn't like it. I just haven't watched it. So I'm like a lot of these other fans that have never even watched a NASCAR before and tuning in and what is this all about? And I'm saying to myself, this racing, this kind of nobody's passing each other. I mean, this isn't this can't be what dirt racing is supposed to be about. I thought we were going to tune in and cars are going to be slipping and sliding all over the place, and there's going to be wrecks, and there's going to be passes, and there's going to be this, and there's none of that. It's just a boring race. If it wasn't for the pit stop changes and the strategies of we're going to stay out for position. If it wasn't for that, you could have a driver probably leading 90% of the laps in this race.
Yep. And Kyle Busch made a good point in his post race. Most dirt races around the nation, every dirt race, you get 50 laps, 100 laps max. Most of them are 100 or less. 250 is still far too long for this race.
That's true. Yes.
You need to get this thing. That's why features, they call them the A-main, the feature. They're short bursts. They get it done. You get more action that way. This is just, everything about it's just awkward. That if you're going to come back and do it next year again, make it 100 laps. Let's get it over with. Let's enforce the passing. And what you see on dirt tracks, especially like midgets or stuff, where Briscoe was trying to do. Like they'll come around and do the slide job. He'll come up, and then the other guy might come around and do it. They call them sliders. They do it to each other all the time. That's what he was trying to do. And they usually build a cushion up against the wall with the dirt, and you can bounce off of it. I've seen guys looks like they're going to nail the wall, but they'll use it to propel them forward, and then the other guy will do it the next lap. It's 30 laps of that all the way through the field. We don't see that in Bristol. It's just the cars are too big. It's awkward. Go to a track that's made for dirt and let's see what happens with these cars.
Keep it on Easter night if you want, but change the venue, please.
What it reminded me of is with dirt for these cars is a hockey rink. It's just slick. That's what it is. We'll just go race on a hockey rink in a baseball field like the Winter Classic NHL stuff. Let's really make it. Yeah. That's all it was.
Let's take a look at the end here. So
Briscoe, right here said on a midget you'd go down and like he's doing, he wants to pull a slider. So he goes low. And what you do is you try to slide up in front of him. He just didn't have the grip. He didn't make the move. And Reddick had such a good line that it got into him and allowed Kyle to skate by here and win the race. I mean, I looked, because the delay, and so if you pause it right here, at that point, Kyle Busch was 3.9 seconds back because I already knew the finish of the outcome. Because I had the timing and scoring up on my computer in front of me, and it was 2 laps ahead of the TV was showing. And I saw the end that Kyle Busch won. I'm like, how in the what? Okay, I'm intrigued. How in the world does Kyle Busch win this race? So I looked going on that point right here when I saw him make the move. Fox had the ticker. He was 3.941 seconds back. It was 2 turns left with a quarter of a mile, and he wins. So right here, he's setting them up. So right there. What a slide job works. So pause it there. Right here, he knew it wasn't going to work. Usually a slide job, when you start getting sideways right there, you want to slide up in front of them. That's why they call it a slide job. Reddick had the high line was so good right there. He already had enough speed. He's beside him. Briscoe knew what he was saying. And I knew at this point it wasn't going to work. I tried to spin and go low, not to take him out. But my momentum was already carrying me up, and he got into him. So that's part of why it doesn't work at Bristol too. Is you should be able to pull a slide job off. They wrecked each other,
and of course,
and then you have.
And here's my situation. So I got my 2 fantasy drivers, Briscoe and Reddick.
Yeah, you were one.
And that's exactly what I was saying on that last lap as he was getting closer. Don't take each other out, guys. Just don't take each other out. And they took each other out. So.
And I have to wonder if Briscoe didn't have a win, would he have made that slide job? That's the one question that he wasn't asked is, do you just ride into second knowing that you make a different move? Because he was saying he was setting him up for laps, knowing what lines he run in. And Briscoe said, that's what's fun about dirt is you can try different moves because you're not going to lose too much ground.
It's supposed to be fun.
And he was trying that move lap after lap after lap and knew this was my move because he's staying up in that second groove. I'm not going to be able to pass him up there. I'm going to have to do it this way. And he said the one move he should have done is entered high and then went low and then try to come up. But it made an entertaining finish for us. And I wanted it almost is twofold is that finish overshadowed the race. And I think for Kyle Busch, does the finish overshadow Toyota? Because you look at, hey, they got 2 wins in 3 weeks, but they led 6 combined laps in the process. Denny Hamlin led 5 laps in Richmond. Kyle led 1 lap.
We said that last week. So it doesn't count.
I still don't think Toyota's there. I think it now shows that
it's not going to matter this week either because this is a luck race at Talladega.
It is. This is a fluke
still
race.
Won't
so
know.
Yeah.
Let's play what Kevin Harvick had to say. So set this up.
And keep in mind too, he said this before the ratings obviously were released and before the ending. This is the true feelings what the drivers feel about this race. So take the finish and the ratings out of it. This is what a driver feels like.
Okay.
Most of them feel like too.
All right.
He's just willing to say it.
All right, let's see what he says here.
What do you know?
Well, the first thing I can tell you is we did a terrible job prepping the track and full of mud. There was nobody here to pack the track, so we all looked like a bunch of bozos coming into pit.
Okay, I'm going to stop that right there because he talks about the with the first pit stop. Everybody needs to come in and clean. I think that's what he was referencing. We all have to clean the grills.
Grills.
And I'm saying to myself, when this is going on, this isn't fair. What is going on here? This is how do they not even figure this out before the race?
And that's where the mud comes along. The track was a little more muddy. They watered down a track before a dirt race. It's called track prep. They do it everywhere. But I think they made it too muddy. And that's what he was kind of referencing. And I almost wonder NASCAR side, and they made mention of this a couple times, that you have different screens you can run there for that. And I almost wonder if the Stewart Haas guys, and I get what Harvick's saying, if they brought the wrong screen.
But isn't that somebody said that. I don't know if it was Harvick, but somebody did talk about how, wait a second, we did our job. They were interviewing
Stenhouse's. It was Stenhouse's
crew chief.
Yeah.
We did our job. Yep. We knew what to expect. So how do you penalize those guys? That's just, come on. That's just unfair.
Because if you look, 3 of the 4 Stewart Haas cars had to pit with that problem. Not a lot of other cars are having that problem. They're like, well, wait a minute. Now we got to throw a controlled caution. They would be in the back multiple laps down. And it should have been, which it kind of took care of itself because Harvick got caught up in a crash and Almirola didn't finish great, and Custer had his. So it kind of took care of itself, but still,
terrible.
Well, Briscoe, it helped him too, though. But
terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Next up,
because we don't know how to prep the track, and then we don't get the lucky dog for whatever reason with 2 cars on pit.
Yeah, I don't care about the lucky dog.
Do you think is this something that's salvageable? Like, do you think like
what's the point? Like, what's the point, really?
What's the point?
The point is something different, right? And grassroots.
I guess the TV ratings will tell that.
Yeah.
So if the TV ratings are high, it'll be great.
But you really liked this track the way it was. Not every driver did, but you were one of the ones who really liked it, right?
I think Bristol is a great racetrack, but it must not have been, what everybody liked.
Pretty frustrated?
Bristol is a great racetrack, but it must not be what everybody likes. And Harvick is obviously wrong because everybody does like it. It is a great racetrack, but the people who are making the decisions don't care.
No, it's all preface. They're trying to separate the 2 dates, and they thought this worked, and everybody's saying the same thing, except unfortunately 4 million people tuned in. I think if 1 million people tuned in, this race would be gone, and we never talk about it again. The moneymaker is that TV rating, and Harvick said it. Logano said it. Austin Dillon said it. Kyle Larson was even more critical leading into it. Chase Elliott. I mean, all these drivers can't be wrong, but they're saying this. It's for the betterment of the sport, and I know what they're going to do. They're going to highlight that last lap and say 4 million. It's like that last lap doesn't make up for the other 249. You're talking more the last lap and the ratings, and that's what they're gonna promote. And it's just, you're gonna see that on highlight reels, and 4 million people tuned in is what they're gonna say. And the drivers are, and I agree. I think it's wrong to race on Easter anyways. I just feel like
there's that too. Yes, for years.
It's you should not be. And these drivers, it's like they keep saying it's not just about us. It's more the road crew guys, the pit.
Yes.
Like, we have a bus.
We got families.
We can have our family. These guys miss their family. These guys don't have their families on the road. And
what's going on with NASCAR? Since when? Where is this? Ever since last year, ever since the Bubba Wallace incident, it's like NASCAR is deciding that we're going to be like all these other big corporations, and we have to be woke, and that also takes away from the conservative religious families.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about them. Nobody cares about them. And that's the thing that's the other change that's going on in this country that you would have expected. NASCAR is going to do that too. I mean, why? When a great percentage, I would have to believe that if you totaled up the average of the NASCAR fan and what their faith is and what they believe in things like Easter it would be like 90% would be like, it's important to us. It's a holiday that, we don't think that you should have racing, which you haven't for all these years for that very reason that you've respected our faith. Now they don't care about the faith of the NASCAR fan, just like the rest of the country, or the way that they've treated most of the people in this country. The people who actually believe that Easter is important.
Yeah, and these drivers, like they all mentioned too, a lot of them are younger with kids. Like we like to be at home with our kids on Easter, and we race 36. We're the longest season already in professional sports. We race 36 points paying races. You have an all-star race. There's the 37th week. So, and like they were saying too, a lot of times we used to always use this week. We can do a vacation during the week and be at home with our families during that weekend. We've always had it off since 1990. Every year, NASCAR has not touched Easter. And like this year, as an example, they have one off weekend all year. They could have used this one just to break away, just recharge the batteries, step away. That's what Easter's about. And nope, let's go race. And then I know that, we had a church service. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to a racetrack for my Easter church service. There's nothing religious about Bristol and having. It's like, come on. And these drivers are all saying the same thing. But they're going to basically say, and this is where the disconnect, this is where I applaud Denny Hamlin for getting a driver's council, is like the Atlanta thing. We told them, we're the race car drivers. We're the ones risking our lives. We're the ones that are trying to put on a good show, and you ignored us. And here we go again. They're going to ignore them. All these comments, all last week, all weekend, they're going to be ignored. And that's the thing I've got a problem with is, you're not even going to listen to the drivers. They've all said it. Even Kyle Busch was asked, do you feel like even though you won, you fluked in, you've been saying, talking about Bristol isn't meant for Cup. And he still said, I don't know if the good outweighs how much bad we have here. They're still going to, I guarantee they show up. They're going to pound 4 million viewers. That's what they're going to say. And unfortunately, I feel like eventually that all comes around and bites you in the ass.
Yeah.
They're not listening.
It will. But it is what it is, and we have to live with it. Like you said, more than likely an announcement will come out at some point, and we're just going to go, well, there you go. So, all right. We got to go. We have a Talladega race to preview. So, Eric, appreciate it as always. RaceReviewOnline.net. When is the next IndyCar race, by the way? Just
next weekend. But we'll have...
That's the first weekend of April?
Yep. May 1st, or May. May 1st.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yep, we got some testing this week, so we might have some videos out there if Mother Nature cooperates.
And you'll be there if weather
I'll
cooperates.
Be there. Indy 500. Yeah, it's on the oval. So we'll have 32 cars will be out here testing. So we'll say weather permitting. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. It snowed yesterday, so we'll see what happens.
Snowed. All right, sounds good, Eric. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good.